What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Membership Masters podcast. This is the podcast where we help entrepreneurs just like you build million-dollar memberships online. I am super excited about today's guest. He is truly a legend in the membership space. He is the founder of superfastbusiness.com, the author of Work Less, Make More. He is one of my personal membership mentors, and rumor has it he is a amateur surfing legend down in Australia. It is the one and only James Schramko. What's going on, man?
Well, I just got back from a surf trip yesterday. Actually, it was a Monday. And on the weekend, a friend of mine's visiting from Thailand, and he's also an Australian. He wanted to go surfing, and we said, let's do it. We just booked Monday. We flew down to another state. We went surfing in a brand new wave pool they have for the day, and then flew back at night. And I was just thinking, what a fantastic life it is when you can do that on the spur of the moment. I think that sums up everything about why I love memberships.
Oh, it's amazing, dude. Awesome stuff. I will never forget meeting you when I personally met you. We were in the Philippines in like 2015 at a Tropical Think Tank, which was an event held by Chris Ducker. So Chris, if you're listening, what's up, man? And I remember leading up to the event, Chris kept saying to me, you got to meet James Schramko. You got to meet with what you and Jocelyn are doing online. You got to meet James Schramko. You got to meet James Schramko. And I remember you got up on stage and you were doing your talk. And I looked up and I was listening. And I found my head was nodding. And I was like, I got to meet James Schramko. And then we had like a little round table mastermind thing. And I remember sitting down and I had a piece of paper. And you were like, you know, what do you want? What do you do? That's basically the two questions you asked me. And I said, well, you know, we've got this membership. We sell lesson plans to teachers. But gosh, James, it's just so much energy, man. Like I got to sell September's lessons in September and August's in August and January and February. And I feel like I'm like reloading the gun every single month. And I remember you looked down at the piece of paper and you just said, put it all in a membership. Like, and that one little sentence like sent me down a rabbit hole that I can't even like explain like on this podcast. But for our listeners who may not be as familiar with you and your work as I am, could you tell us a little bit more about what you do and superfastbusiness.com?
Yeah, so Superfast Business is the current version of my main membership. The founding version of that actually started in 2009, so it's 11 years old now. And I help people who are online, probably very similar to what you've been doing, but I've been doing it for a long time. And back then, we were teaching people how to build websites and set up their autoresponders. And these days, I tend to attract people who have a business in motion. They, like you, basically right. the version of the Shane and Jocelyn, who I met in the Philippines. They're the persons that I help the most. In motion, want to take it to the next stage, needs some ideas around strategy. Typically, I'm helping people with team building, with systems and organization, with sales and conversion ideas, different ways to get their customers and to onboard them and to have them stick around, because obviously with a membership, retention is a massive topic. It's not often talked about. And then I help them with themselves, because I really think a lot of this comes down to mindset, personal discipline. And you know this, you've got an athletic background, but a lot of people lack the mental tools to be able to run their own business without a bit of help. And it's because we're not really trained for that at school. We're definitely not trained for that at university. And working for someone else gives you a limited exposure to the realities of running a business. So because of my background, I used to be a general manager at Mercedes-Benz dealerships. So I got a lot of sort of real world grounding, and I brought that to the online space where, you know, some of my students have never actually had a real job or have come straight from academia, or they've, you know, worked for someone else the whole time and didn't get, you know, the grounding. So that's basically what I do. And then I've got a layer or two on top of that. There's a higher level, more intimate program called Silver Circle. And that typically has around 30 members. And then above that is my partnership program. Now I actually partner with some businesses, and I'm building out a little portfolio of generally related businesses that I help and that help each other, and we grow together. And I'm a sort of silent partner in them, and that's been occupying my last couple of years.
So like the bottom layer of the membership kind of feeds the second layer of the coaching, kind of finds you these partners that you can kind of, coach through or be on a board with or help them make decisions in their business.
It's tempting to think like that. However, it's not reality.
Right.
And, I cover this in a whole chapter in my book because we're pushed the ascension model a lot. This idea that someone comes to our website, they should get onto our email list, and then they might get a free report or free training of some kind. Then they'll get to know you and listen to your podcast, and then they're going to buy your entry level program. And then when they're ready, they'll buy the next one. And then when they're ready, it's a bit of a fantasy. What I think is, think about it like someone who goes into a bar and they order a whiskey. Generally, they're either going to go with what's the tap mix, if they're that kind of whiskey drinker, or on the bottom shelf, or if they're really into their whiskey, and I'm not, so I don't really know about the topic, they're going to go for some particular top shelf version of it that costs a little more, but they're going to go straight to that. They don't start on the cheap stuff and work their way up.
Give me my first shot of the cheap stuff and the next two expensive.
Yeah, it's like that's not how it works. So It's really about understanding the context of where your customer's at. Someone who comes along with a big challenge and a big problem and already has a big team and is already making big money, they're going to go straight to the program that solves their problem instantly. So the stats that I've seen are 2/3 of Silver Circle members are not or haven't come from Superfast Business. 1/3 has. So there is some crossover, but it's not a pure, 100% upgrade type ascension. And I call this concept the chocolate wheel. And I really learnt it from the car dealership because I recognize there was no set pathway for how people dealt with us. We had different departments. We had some people would come in to buy a petrol cap, a replacement petrol cap, and then they'd end up buying a new SL 500.
I was just
other
like
people, their finance was due for renewal, so they would then come and speak to their finance person, but then buy a new car. Other people had bought somewhere else, but then serviced with us, and then they wanted to buy something. Other people we'd never heard of, then they buy a car, then they start servicing with us. So we had between finance, parts, service, and sales, had all these different doorways into the dealership. So recognize, this is more of a wheel rather than a linear
line
model.
or a staircase or something like that.
Right. So when you do, when you have multiple tiers to your business, the first thing that I help students with is like, how can you have people buy your highest ticket item directly and skip the whole need for a low ticket thing? Because it's very common people go out and create a low ticket thing which needs massive volume to drive it. Right. It's actually as much, if not more work to set up, as much or significantly more risk, because it takes a long time to pay itself back.
Sure.
Versus just opening up a high ticket item from scratch and making that the first product and then working your way down. I think even Tesla might have done that. They started with a higher ticket product and then they filled it down with a lower entry level.
And I think that's what people get confused with memberships too. Like, we're just talking about getting people to pay us and retaining our customers that we've already gotten, because it's easier to keep your customers than it is to get new customers. So it doesn't matter if it's a low ticket, $99 a month, or a high ticket, hey, this person's technically paying me $1,000 a month. Maybe it's 6 months at a time. Maybe it's a year at a time. But it's just building that in and figuring out really like the people that land on your site, like what do they need next? And that's where you drop them in. You don't make them go through all this rigmarole and jump through hoops and where's the thing I need? It's like, no, like I was on a membership today. Actually, I was looking at someone's membership and I couldn't figure out even how to join, because they were forcing me to give them my email and forcing me to get this free thing that I didn't even need. And I was like, where is the thing? I just want to buy the thing. I didn't want the free trial. Yeah. I wanted to throw my money at them and they wouldn't let me, And
it's typically the high level client is the one who needs that. They need it right now. So I had on my homepage, I have a chooser, and that helps people find the right product right now. And for the highest level, I do have a criteria. I want to speak to someone before they can join, because I can't have the wrong person in the program for them or for me.
Right.
It's not good for other members. It's not good for me if they're a bad fit, and it's definitely not good for them. So we have a little discussion, 15-minute chat, just make sure that we're on the same page. But sometimes they start the call with, listen, I just want to let you know, you're not selling anything today because I'm already in. Like, where do I send the money?
Right, exactly.
Like that one, I have to send them to the page where they can purchase. And on that page is still a summary of outline of what the expectations are.
Yeah.
Because it's a high performance program. That's a month to month performance based program. And someone stays to the extent that I can help them.
Yeah.
And, when you were in that program, you're going through quantum leaps until you found your stability and your thing, and you just took off, which is perfect.
Yeah, I loved it is funny when you go back and you said, like, you work on kind of them and the mindset thing first, and then we can, all the other stuff, the retention and all that stuff. That's a technical discussion we got to have, right? Yeah. But I remember the first thing I did when I joined was my email inbox was a mess. It was the worst thing ever. And I was like, and I remember distinctly thinking, I don't remember if you said it in one of your calls or what it was, but it was like, if I don't clear my inbox, I'll never be able to manage my membership. I've got to get control of this like before. And I took your email inbox course, and I've been at inbox 0 for like the past 5 years, every day. Well, and I was like, and it's amazing how something even little like that, like people want to jump straight into, I want 1,000 members and I want to manage their membership. And I'm like, you can't even manage your checkbook. Like, how are you going to manage 1,000 other human beings?
If you're not used to that responsibility or all the money that's going to come in, you're probably going to not handle it well. I mean, the sort of numbers you're talking about and the numbers that I see and the people I coach, I mean, for context, the average business in my high level group, the average business makes $3 million revenue per year.
Crazy.
That means half my members make more. And no one really makes less than 500 grand a year in that group. So they've already developed a muscle to cope with the responsibility that requires. That almost inevitably they're hiring people. Some of them are holding stock. They always have to make decisions ongoing. So they need a strong mind. I think the inbox thing is twofold. One is conquering the reason you got a big inbox. It's kind of like a diet. If you were morbidly obese, it would mean that you're putting in more than you can process, right?
Yes.
And it's building up. That's what happens with emails. It's the behavior that causes it to get massive. That's one aspect of it. If you can tame that, then you have the right sort of behavior to manage all the logistics of having a membership. And despite what anyone would say, it's still a fairly complex business to run for any period of time, right? Anyone can set one up, anyone can do a launch, but after that, it's like, okay, now what? That's when the real stuff begins. The second aspect to managing your email is that it really is a huge time suck. And I developed that course called Inbox Relief before we saw the current sort of state of play of social media. But I'd say now social media / Netflix is where most people spend their time, apparently 6 hours a day.
Whoa.
Watching videos or being on social media, even if they're multitasking. So they might be doing something else and social media at the same time, like watching TV with their iPad. Very common.
Right.
We all do it. And then in emails, I reckon people literally spend several hours per day tooling around their inbox. And the vast majority of the emails in there don't require us to actually do anything or respond or even look at. And they're the ones worth identifying and getting a system around.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. And like I'm a step back in what we teach over at Flip Lifestyle. We're like the starter baby hatchling membership people, right? And we figured out, like, we had a couple really good success stories out of the gate, because like our mission is to help, like middle-class families with kids create enough online income, whether it's 30, 40, 50, 60 grand, just enough to quit their job, right? Yeah. And what we found was we had a couple people out of the gate that would be like, oh, I sold 100 of these. And they were so overwhelmed, it just collapsed on them. right?
Yeah.
And so even in our program now, we're like, do not launch with more than 25 people. Do not launch, because like we'll beta launch again in 2 weeks, right? But like let's do that first, because if you don't, like you're going to get overwhelmed, and you're not going to be able to really like you said earlier, contain the culture, because you have to set the culture. And if there's 1,000 people screaming at the dinner table, you're not going to be able to set the culture.
So it's you know, as a parent, you develop certain skills. I do equate having any kind of membership that involves a community is very similar to parenting. It's going to start out as a baby. It needs nappy changes and feeding, and it will cry, and then it'll grow up and you know, it'll grow up and mature. You know, my membership's at 10 and 11 years old now for the ones that I started. The ones of my students, lots of them, everyone from Copy Chief, Kevin Rogers, through to, I've got people with horse training memberships, you know, in various stages of play, but they do actually grow up and become more manageable. And I think I've had in the lower membership, I've had a very similar number of members for a decade, which is, I found the right number for me. And over time, the things we teach in there have changed. The people have changed to some extent. Here's an interesting stat. After the 8 years since we put our current tracking system in, we still have a third of our clients who ever joined. Like, wow. We have a very strong core, which is rare. And I've still got some original members of both memberships. That means they've been 10 years in. And that raises another topic, because some people sell lifetime memberships, like pay once and you get access forever. And I'm not a huge fan of that, because I think you can actually transcend that if you do it right.
Yeah, for sure. So let's back up just one step here. So you've been in the membership game longer than anybody I know, basically. Like, I've never met anybody that has a membership that's 11 years old, even if it was in another form or name, right? So, like, you know, that might be older than Netflix. I don't even know. They were still sending DVDs when you were starting.
Could be. Well, definitely it was pre-Facebook groups.
100%.
You know,
yes.
And I've seen so much change in the last 10 years. It's different, you know, and two other things I've been doing, and this is probably, I don't know if it relates to your question or not. I've been podcasting for that long as well.
Yes.
And I've been running live events for that long. So that's like my 3-pillar recipe for longevity in this game of online business.
Talk to people in their earbuds and in person as much as possible, and you build that community, right?
Yeah, the membership plus live event go very well together, and a podcast and a membership go very well together.
So where did you come up with this idea then, or this concept, like, hey, I need to build recurring revenue. I need to sell something once and try to make them pay me forever, instead of, you know, sell the $20,000 course, or, you know, like we talked about earlier, the ascension model, where they buy one course, then the next course, then the next course, and then finally the do it for you serve or whatever. But like, why memberships from the very beginning for you? Because it's kind of counterintuitive based on what we all hear on podcasts, on YouTube channels, and, you know, at conferences and stuff.
Well, I mean, clearly most people have no idea what they're talking about. That's the only conclusion I could come to, because most of the information I hear, I just think, really?
I remember when you got on stage, you said the first time I ever saw you speak, you were like, some things were said earlier today, forget them.
Right. Yeah, like slides, you hear stupid stuff like there's silly industry metrics, like you'll make $1 per email subscriber per month. Right. If that were true, I'd make $7,000 a month, and I can tell you that's not going to float my boat.
Right.
So you can comfortably 20x that, no problem. Other ones are the classic ones that you'll get 3 months retention on a membership. You know, try 3 years.
Yeah,
that's more realistic if you do it right. So, yeah, that presentation that you saw was turned into my book. That's what dislodged a 5-year stall. Was Kelly Exeter sitting in that audience saying, "You should have a book." I'm like, "I've tried to have a book." And she said, I'll help you make the book. I said, done.
Yeah, right. Well, when you got some backup, it's a lot easier process to chew on, you know?
Right. And the first chapter sort of reflects on that particular presentation. And
Cool.
I had some amazing people come from that event. There was you, and there's also people like Jared, and
Yes.
it's been, turned into a long time partner and customer. So yeah, why the membership? Well, preceding that, my first success online, and I had a few sort of attempts that were difficult, but my first success was selling software as an affiliate. So I would help people who wanted to be able to build a website. So back in 2006, that was hard to build a website. WordPress wasn't a thing. You had these difficult tools like Dreamweaver. You had to be a tech expert for these things, or code.
Actually be able to code, basically.
Right. Yeah. There was this Microsoft front page. There were a couple of web builder tools, but they were pretty primitive. But I found this software that worked on a Windows PC that you could build your website on your computer and then just upload it to the web. And it was wasn't drag and drop, but it was kind of easy to use, And so I was selling that, and I'll get paid initially $49.25 per sale. It was $198 software. I get $49.25. And I started selling a little bit more and a little bit more, and it sort of went to $500 a month and $1,000 a month, and then $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. I kind of got stuck at $5,000, and then I had a radical innovation, and I managed to jump it up to $10,000. And then I started getting demand for the bonus that I was giving away, which was a cheat sheet of sorts. And so I started selling that. Initially, someone who already had the software found out about it and said, "Can I buy it?" And I said, "Well, look, if you send me some money in PayPal, you can." And so they sent me the money. I sent them the cheat sheet. The next day, I had all these emails from people saying, "Apparently I can buy this cheat sheet from you if I already have the software." And this person had gone onto a forum and said, "Listen, I just found out you can buy this if you." So
right.
I'm like, okay. So I got a domain. I registered the product. I put it up in one of the online marketing forums at the time as a special offer. And the first day I opened it, I sold $1,000 worth.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
off
whoa.
of a PDF, basically something you're emailing people. I
mean,
basically.
It started as 10 lines in Excel and then turned into a 13-page PDF, and then blew out to 100 pages over time as I sold it and developed and built a little membership around that, which that's when I got my go-to webinar account, 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I ran a webinar. This was in 2008. I ran a webinar for my members. I recorded, I put the video in there, but they got access to this membership if they bought this thing one time. So I was building up members, but each month I'd have to start from scratch. It was a lot like when I was selling Mercedes-Benz. Every month you start from zero.
That's right.
And except for a couple of forward orders, about half my month would be sort of covered from previous work that I'd done, but still it's one at a time. And I got myself up to about 10 grand a month, and I was kind of just couldn't get it past there for whatever reason. And then I realized I've got all these customers and they're all really qualified. I never used to give away anything for free. I used to just build a list of customers. Everyone on my list had paid $200 for software. So I only had a few hundred people, but they were qualified and they had other needs. So I started figuring out what else they buy. And I realized some of them were buying online marketing programs and some of them were recurring. So I was a member of a couple of forums. There's a few free ones. This is before Facebook pages or groups. So everyone was in forums back then. And there was a couple of paid forums. And some of the things used to really annoy me. It's like you join the forum and the people who sold the forum were never there.
Yeah.
You'd never see them. They'd never post. You got no attention. You couldn't, it was like the blind leading the blind. They were kind of janky. And I thought, so I used to promote them as an affiliate initially, and then I'd get recurring income from that. So that was like the first aha moment. It's like, wow, I should make sure every one of my customers gets this education.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I think I could actually do better. So I wrote down a list of all the forums that I'm in a spreadsheet, and I wrote what I like about them and what sucks about them. And then I actually opened up my first forum. But there's a couple of little contextual stories that really help bring this point home. About 7 months prior, so about midway through 2008, I went to America, went to a conference, met a group of people. I got a couple of ideas, came back, really was able to drive my traffic. But the big idea was I go back to a couple of people I'd build websites for and offer them online marketing services. Like, this is really pioneering stuff back in 2000.
Yeah, they didn't exist back then. There was
the whole
Wild West.
This offline gold, the whole thing. I was originally in that discussion of the offline gold. I'd already had clients for a year by then. But I signed up 2 clients who I'd built websites for. They were paying $5,500 each for online marketing services. And then I quit my job. Now, I was on a $300,000 a year job. And I know that a teacher listening to this in the middle of America, where a house might cost less than a couple of $100,000, is probably their mind's already just flipping out. In Sydney, the average house price is $1 million. Right, average. My wage is $300,000 with 4 kids in Sydney as the only income earner. I was just getting by. And we have a very heavy tax system too. About half of it goes to our government.
Right, different
we have
world.
Great healthcare and reasonably sane politicians. So we've got some other benefits, a nice climate. So here I am. I've quit my job. And now I'm starting to promote sort of more serious affiliate things. I was actually driving up to $30,000, $40,000 a month in paid traffic. I was actually driving Facebook ads in 2008.
Wow.
I was driving Google ads. I had the display network. I had all these other things you've never heard of, and probably half of them aren't still around.
Right.
Driving all this traffic, but I drove so much traffic for one product that they actually went broke. And they forfeited their last payment, which, it amounted to, I think at the time, somewhere around $10,000 to $20,000 in that region. And it coincided with Christmas. I remember that Christmas, I had a little cash flow crunch. So I had to pay back the advertising expenses that I built up for the month prior. I didn't get paid from the company that collapsed. And my membership, my product sales and my service sales sort of balanced out, but I just sort of ran into Christmas with just cash flow surged down to nothing. I wasn't negative, but I wasn't positive. It was just break even. And I'm like, I don't ever want to be in this situation again. So thankfully I had these 2 recurring clients. So I had recurring services before I had a recurring membership. But it was around about February 2009, I started my membership, and I had about 78 members, and I put them all on a 60-day trial that started billing afterwards. And it was part of an affiliate promotion. So the way I started my membership was I found a $2,000 information product that was a hot launch. I said to people, I will support you and train you and go through this course with you while the course is being run. And I'll put you inside this membership area where we can do that. And I sold 78 of that course at $1,000 per sale commission.
Whoa, that's brilliant, dude.
But basically, I got paid $78,000 for my first 2 months of membership. And then, to my surprise, pretty much everyone stayed on after 60 days. And I had this core now. And then from 2009, I started speaking at events. And as part of the event, I would give people 60 days access to my membership. And most of them would stay on. So I was driving my membership from affiliate sales, from speaking at live events, running my own workshops. And then I started podcasting that year as well. And that started to get me conversions, because I think podcasts are a good conversion tool. But back then there was no podcasts either. So I was in the top 10 all the time.
Right.
And,
there's a few more now, James. There's been a few more launches.
Over 500,000 podcasts.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, man.
I am proof that if you get in early enough, you don't even have to be that good. You just got to be there.
Right.
I've left my run too late with social media. I was too slow for that one. But I think that's hot now. And I put more focus on videos than that's the new frontier. People want to watch videos. I'm going to give them videos. Yeah, I used to or 8 years ago, I was too early, and then paused for a while, and then I'm back in it now for the last year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, I saw a Facebook post you did the other day where you're going to talk about doing a lot more video this year. I thought, yeah, love me some
I
video.
make about 38 grand a month just from the videos I make
that's awesome.
that I've tracked. So there's no question the videos work.
That's kind of why we, like, when you said put them all in a membership, that was kind of my epiphany too, because we were successful and we were doing good in sales, but like it was sell and then run out, sell and then run out, and we had to do it again over and over. And then of course there's attrition on your list, so now you got to get more emails, and you're just in this hamster wheel. And I remember after we quit our jobs, we were just selling courses, PDFs, resources, right? And I remember distinctly we had one of those moments where it's like everything kind of dropped and you're like, get the resumes ready. We're going back to work. You know what I'm saying? And I remember that's one of the reasons.
Nightmare. That's my recurring nightmare.
Yes. You wake up and I got to do something else besides what I'm doing right now. And I remember when you said that, and we went back and like, this is the key. Like, this is how a family raising kids, making money online, can create stable, predictable, recurring revenue. So even if there's a dip, if I got 1,000 members and 100 leave, I still got 900 members. I just got to go sell 101, and I'm still going to grow.
You basically the core principle is you want to be paid by lots of people.
Yeah,
exactly. And because when I had a job, I was paid by one person. And I really felt I had a strong sense that my job would be on the chopping block. I was the highest paid person doing what I did. We were coming into a economic downturn because of the American finance fallout. If you look back, 2008 was the start, I think. I could see this. I'm in the luxury car segment. I'm not feeling comfortable. I want to be paid by lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
The second dimension that really changes it is I want to be paid by lots and lots of people, recurring. And you can experience a scenario like I have where you can actually go for over a decade with never missing 6 figures a month.
Oh, it's amazing, dude.
Like, it is the most stable, consistent business model. And I coach a lot of people, like thousands of people, and I would rarely find someone with a more predictable, stable, desirable business than what I've been able to build. And that's why I'm an advocate for it.
Yeah. I always tell these two stories when people are like, well, but don't you want to get a good job that is steady instead of worrying about this online game? And I'm like, no, because here's why. The most stable job in America is a school teacher with tenure. And I was that. I was a football coach and a school teacher with tenure. That means if you don't do something stupid, they can't fire you. They can move you, they can make you miserable, but they got to pay you, right? And so listen to that. So I got tenure. I'm ready to go. Everything's fine. The voters in the school district voted to consolidate the high school, which reset tenure for everyone in there so that they could fire people and thin the herd down. You have less teachers. And I found myself on the chopping in the safest, most stable, predictable job, the government, health insurance, all paycheck every week, whatever. Like, no, man, there's no better security than doing it yourself and leading dozens and dozens or hundreds and hundreds of people who pay you every single month, because you've got time, you've got stability, and you're not reliant on these lies that we've kind of all been told. You know what I mean? Well,
like, even if people have good intentions, it's like a lot of good people end up without a job because the employer can't manage their business. Like, exactly. A lot of businesses go broke. The stats are out there. Anywhere you want to pull up stats, the majority of businesses fail. Like, right. Something like 98.5% after 3 to 5 years. Like, some phenomenal amount. Like, aside from my team members who may be watching this at some point, they've got like the most stable job possible. They have to try really hard to shake themselves off my tree because, awesome. We can afford to have a team, and, we have such a strong core. But yeah, I think job is risky because you're getting a single point of failure there. That's that paycheck.
Yes.
And I never want to be in that situation again. So I think for me, driving that was, what happened to me when I was a kid. My parents did have a job, and my dad lost his job, and no fault of his own. That was the actual recession in the late 80s. And we haven't had a big recession like that since. And so we're probably due for one, just as a side note. But
yeah, save some money.
I want to
people.
be recession proof. I want to have a cash flow rich, high profit margin business and lots of chestnuts stored away for winter.
That's another thing about those two tiers too. You've got different clients paying at maybe a lower level, a higher level. So you're kind of like, what do they say in real estate? It's like in America, it's like somewhere between 800 and 1300 is like the sweet spot where you're quote unquote recession proof, because the people in the luxury homes lose their home and come rent for you. They come down to 1300, and the people, and in good times, the people down here go up to you because they're doing good. And you can you've got balance on both sides of the equation almost.
Well, I found with my higher level group lately, because the rates are fairly high compared to what most of your audience would be thinking, I'm getting people who have emergencies, and I can help them a lot. A classic case on the weekend, someone sent me a message in Instagram. I know this person, they know me. We've done some work before, but they've got a lot on their plate right now. And they said, can I get on the program? And I said, sure. He joined the program. I sent him the link. He joined the program. Spoke to him yesterday for an hour and a half. We went through 7 topics. His membership's already paid for this year off that hour and a half, because he's doing $600,000 a month. He has 3 deals in his pipeline that he has to decide how to structure them legally, strategically, what he wants from the deal, how he should go about getting it. And then we had to have a look at, what's going on with the current business. Where are some big gains? I gave him a couple of techniques to change the conversion ratio on what he's doing now, to also treat something financially different than what he's been doing that will give him a huge windfall. Like, put at least $80,000 to $100,000 back into his account within the next year. So he's already miles ahead. So you get the right clients who have the right problem that you can solve. Money really just vaporizes. And for context, that program is about $5,000 a month now.
Yeah.
And you don't need many $5,000 clients to do okay. I mean, I needed 2 to quit my job, plus what else I was doing back, 11 years ago. These days, if you have 30 clients at that rate, you could have a fantastic business.
Oh yeah. I love the context we're getting here too, like, because the membership model does get a bad rap as it's only low ticket, but you can do it like at any level, basically, if you can.
Why is it only low ticket? I'd want to know the reason. The interesting thing that's changed with my super fast business membership is it's now $599 a month. So, back some time ago, it used to be $79 a month, or it was $599 a year.
Yeah.
But I've changed, I've had to keep innovating and adding value. One thing I brought in about 2 years ago was private personal coaching. So they were getting the same level of access as a Silver Circle member now, without the phone call part, but with the ability to, go deep and customize on their business and talk to me directly every day in the forum, just them and me. No one else can look over the fence. That just opened up the results people get, because I discovered people want to say stuff, but they don't in the group. And that channel, and then you realize, like, you've got a finite amount of your time or energy that you can do it until you start bringing in a sub coach or other people to do that for you. In my case, I wanted to keep doing that. So I just made it where I'm attracting the right customer who that's still great value for, and they get huge results. I get really interesting customers coming in at that rate.
Do they still talk to each other in the forums? Do they still talk to can they still talk to each other? But then
yes. So now they're having really high level conversations with each other, because I got these, really good
in the room. Yeah.
But that's provided space for me to now put a new program where people can afford, obviously my book. Everyone can afford $20 for a book,
right?
Or, $3 for Kindle. That's a great starting point. And I'm going to produce more books because I want to serve those people. And of course, everyone can listen to a podcast for free. We still publish 2 a week.
Sure.
So that's my platform, because I think what I'm addressing here is some people feel massive guilt around having a high price. They're putting a low ticket on their membership because they want to play it safe, and they what they're really feeling is they're not worth it.
That's big time. Y'all listening?
I can tell you,
now?
the guy I
listen
spoke
to what he's saying here. He's preaching now.
for the guy I spoke to yesterday, I was more than worth it. You know, I'm undercharging severely.
You were definitely more than worth it to me. I will say that. I'm glad I found you 5 years ago before you started charging those amazing prices that you're absolutely worth. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
I feel like I got a deal, man. You know what I mean?
Of course you got a deal, but it's like at that moment in time, and some moments, like I would have liked to gone to a Led Zeppelin concert in the 70s. That would have been awesome, but I can't now. But I did get to see Robert Plant perform in the Sydney Opera House. So sometimes the moment of time is gone, and if someone wasn't in the program, then they were doing something else. So maybe that was good. But it allowed me to create a split program. They can still have the old style membership, which is $199 a month, which is not with the personal coaching, but has everything else. Still has the live trainings and all of that. So that's the first time I had 2 tiers for that program after 10 years of running. You can still come up with relevant changes, but you've got to be tuned into your audience. You just got to know your audience. That's like fundamental. I
got one more really important question I want to cover here before we have to go. And we've kind of touched on it, like how flexible memberships are, how you can move things around. It's so easy to reinvent yourself in the membership model compared to like, I'm the course guy that does this thing. And that's so true inside of so many memberships. And one of the most important things that actually you taught me was this concept of your membership as a supermarket. And I remember that was what really blew my mind open, because I always thought of a membership as you get to come in, you get to come out, you get what you're served, and you don't get anything else, or you're dripped out to you. But could you explain that to everybody listening? Like how is a membership like a supermarket, and why is that such a powerful concept for this kind of business?
Well, within memberships, there's different types of memberships, obviously, different types of subscription model businesses. But the 3 pillars that I've found work well for me. The content. There's content in a membership. There's community. There's other members, peer-to-peer membership. I've always really liked that aspect, and Facebook groups have really proven that is a popular thing. People want to.
They spent $5 million on an ad for Facebook groups in the Super Bowl last week. So
right. So like, being an online business owner can be a lonely sport, because we're all sitting at home in our little office, not circulating in public so much sometimes. Sometimes because people are shy, but other times, they don't realize they're starting to get cut off a bit. And then there's the coaching aspect, which I'm pretty heavy on. Like I'm heavy on the coaching aspect because that's really what I bring to the table. But I have good members because they're attracted to my coaching, and they're all good people. So that the community is strong. And I create a new piece of content every single month. So I've literally got 80 courses there that I produce 1 a month, like clockwork. So of those 3 things, the content can get a bit tricky. People say, should I drip feed the content, or am I a single topic membership? I mean, I've got one of my clients teaches people how to ride horses better, and that is a 7-year program. And part of the complexity of that is it's not just the rider. They have to also train the horse. And the horse can't just do the mindset thing and flip a switch tomorrow like we can. It has to build up over time, to over 7 years, to be at Olympic level. So that's a really rare and unusual one. That's been probably the most challenging membership I've had, to try and figure out the pathway of the course. For general memberships that aren't specifically topic focused, so they might be broadly, let's say they have a topic of podcasting or content marketing, or having your first online business, they can be fairly general. There's a lot of things you need for that, more things than you might want to put into a linear path. Like you'd choke the python. Like the python can't eat an elephant, probably.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it can, but you can imagine it can eat a rabbit, or a small deer. But too much stuff, it starts to get a little bit complex. So if you have the type of membership where you need a fair bit of content, then I would say the supermarket metaphor works. And the way that I think about it is, when I go to the supermarket, I usually have some things on my list that I'm after. I might want a light bulb, or some fresh vegetables to make some baby food, or I might want a particular thing, make a new brush, or a tin of tuna, because we're down on that particular item. So we go in with our list, and we get our basket, and we go and find you look on the aisles or on the card, and you see where it is. You go and get it. You can just get in and get out. Like, you can walk out of a supermarket spending $26 and get exactly the things you need that solve all the problems you have. You can now have the tuna for your pasta. The baby's fed. You've got a new brush to clean the barbecue down. You're happy. There's a lot of other things in there that are not relevant to you. There's a pet food section. At this place, I don't have a pet. So right. The dog food, the cat food, that aisle, the bird food, the kitty litter, that's not relevant to me. I'm just going to not pay attention to that. So what I've done over especially the last few years, and maybe since you've been there, is I've done a lot of work to segment now what type of person's coming into the membership. And if they're interested in a particular thing, and I've split it into 4 main areas, I only show them that one area they're interested in their onboarding. And that also highlights to them the main content they're interested in. So it's kind of like, hey, look, do you like fruit and veg? You're going to want to know about this section.
Yeah.
Do you have a pet? Well, make sure you know that this is where the pet stuff is. So within a supermarket, you've got lots of little mini different scenarios going on. You only have to look at other people's carts to see that no one has exactly the same combo. Like, not a single person in there has the same combo as you, but yet we are told that we have to have step-by-step programs. Now, as a teacher, this probably fascinates you, but I got a guy in Australia who teaches people how to pass school and how to pass university. And I got him to chat to me about education and programming and stuff. And he said, step by step will not always work. It's not right for sometimes it's better to say, listen, here's what we've got. Tell me about your challenge, and let's identify the right bits and pieces for you.
Oh, it's awesome.
Get in and get out. So, if you only need a hand basket, take the hand basket. Like this guy I spoke to yesterday, it's like he was starving and he needed to just get in and get a couple of meals going and get out, and he's sorted. He's got, he's got a week's worth of food. And
instead of you forcing him into the meal, you're going to drink water first. I don't care if you're hungry. You drink the water, like you can't do that.
It's like, hey, before we go in the supermarket, we should load up on some food, because otherwise you're going to overspend, right?
Yeah.
If people come in there and they go, oh, all this stuff, I'm like, well, what's your plan? Like, yeah, you could have one of everything, and then you'd be the supermarket. But does that solve your problem?
Right.
And if you think about it, most of the time we go to the supermarket, we've got a basic idea of what we want to do while we're there. Some are very specific, and others are kind of, I bet we had a few things we weren't planning on that we got to see that we would never know about if it wasn't available to us.
Like the email course that I didn't even know was a problem until I saw it.
That's because you don't know what you don't know. And, when I'm coaching, I know a lot of things that they don't know. And it's easy for me to just tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, you know what? I had this lady, she posted a novel for her private discussion thread, and I answered with one line. And she just regurgitated everything in her brain, all this, and by the end, it was logical to me, like the answer. I said, well, I think it seems like you really want to be doing this. And she replied back. She goes, oh my God, yes, the whole process of posting this to you got me to process it. And you're absolutely right. It's like pin pricking a balloon.
Yeah.
All the pressure's gone.
Or you look at a guy and you say, put it in a membership. And then he figures it out. That's exactly right. Hey, before we, I want to be respectful of your time, man. I don't want to keep you too long. And, but I do want to, I got one more final question here. Tell me about this philosophy, the name of your book, Work Less, Make More. Right now, my origins come from flipped lifestyles. We talk a lot about flipping the world upside down. And, you know, Joss and I, even to this day, man, we're really protective of our time. Like, you know, I take my kids to school and I pick them up from school every day, and I got to get my stuff done in between. And, but like this concept, but I've actually found the more protective I am of my personal life, the more successful my business like actually becomes. So tell us a little bit about the book, Work Less, Make More, and like, what is that philosophy?
Right. So, I mean, basically not all activities are equal. That's the bottom line. And we have a lot of time. You got 8 hours to sleep. You've got 8 hours to work, and you still got 8 hours. Well, what are we doing that 8 hours? Are we dredging through emails and watching Netflix? Probably. So you can redirect some of that time into higher level activities. And I know you know about Team. I think I helped you at one point with Team there as well. But
yes, you did.
You can actually buy other people's time to do the things that you shouldn't do yourself. A lot of people, when they're starting out, are messing around with their website and their autoresponder and like their help desk and creating content. You don't have to do any of those things if you don't want, if you could be doing something higher level. So for me, speaking to a client at a really high level it pays well. But I have a little team who do all the other stuff. They take my recordings and produce them. They send out the emails. They collate the newsletter. They update my website. They do my bookkeeping. So putting a value on your time is the key. So if you redirect the activities you're doing, you could actually do a lot less activities as long as they're the right ones and get paid more. So I work somewhere between 15 to 20 hours a week now, but I'm making more profit than I ever have before.
Amazing.
So I've dialed up I've found leverage. Just doing high level activities, getting help with all the things that I shouldn't be doing, not doing the activities that should never be done, like no one does them and I'm not paying for them, cutting out any unnecessary or distracting things that don't get a great yield. The first step really is to be aware of what you're doing and then to start scoring it. I even put a tool on my website. It's like an effective hourly rate calculator. So you can put in your income less your costs divided by the number of hours you work. That's your base level, but you can do it by product line. And what people have discovered, and this lady's a great example. One of the activities she spent most of her time and energy and stress on pays her $50 an hour. The other one she's just done a little bit of, but really loves doing, pays her $1,500 an hour. And the one line I wrote, like, it says, I think you should be doing more of that and less of the other. She goes, oh my God, that's
You're
so
right.
obvious.
Right. Yeah.
So the book gives you useful tools on the way to think about this, lots of examples. And of course I talk about the membership because that's, this recurring income machine that you can build gets you more leverage than anything else. It's just magic.
Yeah. But what we teach now is, for us, like everybody's always chasing the mountaintop or the ceiling, right? They're like, I want to make millions and millions and 5 commas and whatever. But I'm like, no, like you want to raise your floor higher than everybody else's ceiling. Like that's what we've done with our business is we've stacked it so high that like failing for us would look like success for most other people because we have this amazing recurring revenue that's just going to be there. So, well, listen, man, hey, before we go, tell everybody the best place that they can connect with you online.
Look, I go to superfastbusiness.com because it has podcasts. It has a chooser. You can find where to be on that site. Information about the book. I'd get the book on Amazon, actually. It's worth the spend. Work Less, Make More.
Awesome book.
If you like to listen, then it's on Audible. And it was built around that presentation that transformed your life and also some of the other people in the audience. So I think it's definitely been validated now. It's often sitting in the top of the marketing section, at least in the Australian Amazon, which has been good. It's actually growing stronger 2 years after publishing.
It's amazing, dude. Hey, listen, everybody listening right now, I'll tell you forevermore. It's one of the reasons you're listening to me and James talk right now is because of what happened over there when we learned a little bit how to live that flip lifestyle, work less, and make more, baby. But listen, man, I appreciate you so much for doing the show, dude. It has been a pleasure to talk to a true membership master on the podcast today. And just want to tell you, man, I appreciate you, and I can't wait to share this podcast and all of those links in the show notes of the podcast with the Membership Masters audience.
Thanks, Shane.